Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Sunday Night Football. The San Francisco 49ers head to Buffalo to battle the Bills in what is going to be cold, already standing snow, and a little bit of snow throughout the game. Kickoff is at 8:20 p.m. The over-under sits at 44.5 points. Before I get into the game and some quick hits, some plays, I have a sneaking feeling about the likes of Deebo Samuel and Curtis Samuel. Are they related? Were they separated at birth? I don't know, but let's talk about the website briefly. With it being, the tail end of week 13, you're either in or you're out in your seasonal fantasy football league. So if you're already out, can't make any trade. Like if the playoffs have already started, a lot of leagues don't allowed non-playoff teams to trade with playoff teams. And why would a playoff team want to trade with a non-playoff team unless it's collusion, unless you're trying to cheat your way to a championship? We don't condone that here at Fantasy Six Pack, but your only move is to place some sports bets, to play DFS. That's the foundation of which FanDuel and DraftKings was built. Injuries hitting your team hard, play DFS. You're out of the championship or playoff running in your seasonal league, play DFS. So just here to move that, to push that narrative in a way. When we get back to this game, it's going to be a nasty one for the San Francisco 49ers. They head to Buffalo. Right now, Buffalo's 9-2, first overall, in the AFC East. And in the NFC East, it's been some nasty business so far, right? San Francisco, they're actually 5-6, and they need to win. I hate to use absolute terms like it's a must win. If they lose, they're toast. But if they lose, they're toast. They're seventh in the wild card, the NFC wild card rankings. You got Minnesota, Green Bay, who's already won this week, Washington, who at the time of this video is up a ton of points. More than likely they will win. When I sat down to record this, they're up 28-0. So you take with that what you will. Arizona's ahead of them, Tampa Bay's ahead of them, and the Rams are right there. The Rams and San Francisco are 5-6 right now in the NFC West. So Frisco needs a win. They can ill afford to lose any games. And when we look at this one in Buffalo, kickoff is at 8:20 p.m. It's going to be cold. It's been this lake effect snow has dumped so much snow on the area already. But tonight, I'm reading this directly from WIVB Channel 4 in Buffalo, New York. Sunday, cold snow showers, localized lake effect snow drifts southward across southern Erie County, high around 26 to 34. Low around 18 to 28. So Orchard Park, they're saying tonight around 1 to 2 inches at best. So drive safe if you're going to the game. If you're in the confines of your own warm, comfy home, let's enjoy this game. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Brock Purdy is going to be back. Josh Allen is rolling. Got engaged over the holiday weekend, so congratulations to Josh Allen. San Francisco, 8th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Josh Allen, I have him for another 3 total touchdown games. Could be 4 if it gets nuts. You're looking at 22 to 23 completions, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, and then 5 to 6 carries for another 25 to 30 yards, and I believe he'll find the end zone on the ground with his legs. When we look at Brock Purdy, looks to be back this week, thankfully, so that only boosts the likings of Deebo Samuel. Hopefully, Ricky Pearsall's done nothing the last 2 weeks. Not his fault. Rookie finding his way, and without Brock in there to kind of get the guys where they're supposed to be and make some good tight throws as Brock Purdy does, you can't knock a guy like Ricky P. But when we look at Brock Purdy in Buffalo, Bills are 5th overall against opposing quarterbacks, 23 to 24 completions, around 280 yards, a touchdown pass of his own, and then 4 to 5 carries for 25 yards. I want you to take these projections with a grain of salt, right? The weather's going to be cold. There's already snow there, and I'd imagine that they've already employed the fans. If you want to come and, shovel the concourse, shovel where your seats are, we'll give you a ticket or we'll pay you $8. I don't know what they do. They've done that before, or they've moved the game. I remember that. I went to the Buffalo New York Jets game in Ford Field years ago when it was an absolute devastation of snow and they just couldn't keep up with it. Let's move it. The Lions in Ford Field will host this sucker. So take this stuff with a grain of salt. Again, as I read the weather, I'm not a weatherman, not a meteorologist, but it says, it's going to be cold, 1 to 2 inches, something like that, which is fun in its own right, but the field is going to be hard as a rock. It's going to be stiff. So to me, it's not going to be a high-flying passing game unless these two teams, unless Joe Burrow and Brock Purdy say, F it, we're going to put some stank on this football and we're going to roll. To me, I have a 31-17 kind of final score in favor of Buffalo, but I think we see a lot of CMC, James Cook, Deebo Samuel, as I was getting at. I think there's going to be a lot more, behind the line of scrimmage work to be done tonight in this game with Deebo, with Curtis Samuel in a way. But again, Keon Coleman looks to be okay and playing again with a wrist injury. Cooper Kupp looks to be active as well. Those guys combined, Keon Coleman, and Amari Cooper, you're looking at like 12 or 13 total targets between the two guys. On the high end, 9 to 10 completions between the two guys. That doesn't leave a lot for Curtis Samuel, but again, a lot of behind the line of scrimmage stuff, quick outs or just pitches or carries, we shall see. Let's go back to CMC briefly. The Buffalo Bills, 29th overall against opposing running backs. CMC, 15 to 16 carries on the low end, 75 to 80 yards, and around 4 to 5 receptions for another 40 yards. So CMC will be well over 100 all-purpose yards. Will he find the end zone? I don't have that written in my notes. That doesn't mean that will not happen. I'm not the end-all, be-all of anything, but I would feel most comfortable with CMC, with James Cook, given, how this game, tails off to in the second half, in the fourth quarter, with San Francisco more than likely being behind in the second half. Christian McCaffrey's going to touch the ball a whole heck of a lot. When we look at James Cook, San Francisco 21st overall against opposing running backs. Cook, 14-15 carries, 60 yards. Him finding the end zone is another lock of the century, which I've had some success saying if we go back to Joe Mixon or Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, stuff like that. So to me, James Cook is one of the safest plays of the slate. You're looking at 2 to 3 catches for another 20 yards. We have to mention the rookie Ray Davis as well, 5 to 6 carries, around 25 to 30 yards. And if this game goes as we all think it's going to go, then Ty Johnson will be in on some action as well, 2 to 3 carries for around 10 yards. That's, being very ambitious, and we'll go from there. When we look at the San Francisco wide receivers, it's all about Jawan Jennings and Deebo Samuel for me. When we look at Jawan Jennings, Buffalo's 8th overall against opposing wide receivers, 6 to 7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, around 70 yards. He's, stepped up big time in the absence of Brandon Ayuk, and he's been, I don't want to say rewarded for it. He's put in all the hard work and all this, everything that he needs to do, and I guess he is. He's being rewarded, and he's doing well with all these little extra targets and touches here. Deebo Samuel, 6 to 7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, around 70 yards. Looking at 1 to 2 carries, could be on the low end, 5 to 10 yards. But at what point in this game, I don't want to say at what point in this game does San Francisco say we don't have a chance. That's rude of me to say. But again, in football games, no team will give up. They're playing football. You got to go hot. You got to go full speed. There's no half measures in football. And again, if San Francisco is losing by 15, 20 points in the fourth quarter, you can't just say, oh, well, we'll get them next week. There is no tomorrow for the 49ers. You have to win this one by any means necessary. You lose this one, you're 5-7, and your chances at the playoff window is just bad news, I believe. Don't have the numbers in front of me, but if they lose tonight, it's got to be under 10%, 8%, something like that. They did even make the playoffs to me. So to say, Deebo Samuel, cold weather, he's had a lot of soft tissue injury stuff, in his career, lower body, hips, knees, ankles, that if they get down, Frisco will just, pull the plug on Deebo Samuel. That'd be just absolutely silly of me to say, given the fact that they need to win and that there's no tomorrow, as I've said. So Deebo Samuel, we shall see. When we look at the Buffalo Bills side of things, got to be all about Khalil Shakur. He's taking all the slot snaps, all the targets and touches he can handle that Josh Allen gives him, looking at 7 to 8 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, around 65 yards. I could see a case where, like a 5-10 yard slant, something like that, and Khalil takes it to the house, 35 to 40 yards in this cold, slippery weather here. I mentioned Curtis Samuel several times. He would be my pick for MVP captain in a big GPP on the off chance, something goes nuts or he goes haywire in a good way and he, takes one to the crib 40 yards or, something silly like that. But as I said about 5-10 minutes ago, we cannot overlook Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper. When we get to the tight ends, you're looking at George Kittle going to see as much work as humanly possible, 8-9 targets, let's say, 5 to 6 receptions, 65 to 70 yards. If Brock Purdy throws a touchdown pass tonight, as I think he does, it's going to George Kittle. This guy is a gamer. He's going to relish this weather. He played at Iowa. Yes, he's in California for San Francisco now, but don't get it twisted. George Kittle is still a cold weather guy. I wouldn't be shocked if he's out on the field pregame with his headphones on and no shirt on, just to say, hey, I don't care, born and raised in this kind of weather. So we look at Dawson Knox as well. Dalton Kincaid is out again. Knox, 4 to 5 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, around 35 to 40 yards. Both DSTs are in play just on the off chance you get some sort of defensive touchdown on a scoop and score sack, on a tipped ball interception, pick six, something along those lines. And even the kickers are, who do you think is the most affected by a nasty snow game like this? Affected in a good way would be the running backs. They're going to see a lot of work and it's going to be, choppy, but in a bad way, I would think that the kickers are affected the most. Jake Moody, Tyler Bass, you can do as you see fit, but personally, I love the idea of Josh Allen as our MVP captain. That's no secret. Ownership percentage for him will be through the roof, rightfully so, given the fact I have him for 3 touchdowns. I'm not the only one, not really going out on a limb on that one. But if you want to fade Josh Allen to be contrarian on the off chance that, CMC goes nuts, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, have at it. But to me, as I've said, James Cook is more than likely my favorite MVP captain spot for the fact, 65 yards, a touchdown, another 25, 30 yards on the ground, 100 all-purpose yards, and a touchdown. That seems good to me. Pair him with Deebo Samuel, Khalil Shaker, and Curtis Samuel, and there's your lineup. When we look at the Buffalo defense, they're giving up only 19.5 yards or 19.5 points a game. Good enough for 7th in the NFL. They're scoring 29.1 points a game, while San Francisco allowing 23.6 points a game. So 30 points for Buffalo is just about a shoe-in here, unfortunately. Sorry to you 49ers folks. And the offense for the 49ers, they're hanging around 384.5 yards a game, while 138.4 of those yards a game are rushing. So be good, be safe. Give me the Buffalo Bills to win this one, 31-17, in a fun, cold, snowy weather kind of game. The San Francisco 49ers, I wish you the best. We shall see. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. Be good, be safe, and I'll see you again Monday. Buffalo wins, 31-17. Bye-bye.